So this is part 2 of the cinematography breakdown for Operation Dynamo. I'll try and put a link to part 1 somewhere, but if I can't figure it out, then you'll be able to find it on my page. So now we're on the beach, Canberra Sands Beach, which luckily looks exactly like Dunkirk Beach. I'm pretty pleased with almost all of this beach stuff, and I think it's a good example that a lot of a DOP's job is location selection and scheduling. It's not that I had some special buttons I could push on the camera to make it look great, it's just a beautiful and impressive location, and I chose the time of day of each scene to suit the story and the look. This kind of day for night bit is the only bit I'm not really happy with, as I think it gives away the budget level. All we would have needed was like a big triple riser, maybe like an aperture 600 or something, coming at them from off camera to simulate some moonlight. This is really simple, but it took me a while to get my head around. If you want something to look dark, you need a lot of light, as it's the contrast that makes it look dark. Because these shots are quite flat, there was a limit to how much we could darken them in the grade, otherwise you just wouldn't see anything. But if there's a strong moonlight, we can take everything else way, way down, and you still be able to tell what was happening because they would have a bright outline separating them from the background. So the campfire scene is great at illustrating this, as this works far better because we have the highlight of the fire, although the fire is only actually real in the wide shot. In reality, my partner Ellie is sat just out of frame, twirling a couple of aperture MCs on flame effects mode. I think the effect actually works really well, and with George Davies, my sound mixer, his fire foley over the top, I think it really sells it. Now, I do really like the look of this scene, but Alex Berry, the colorist, did a lot of heavy lifting and making the shots match. As we shot the French soldier's angle first, Jack's angle had a lot deeper shadows as it was around sunset, and in that 15 minutes or so, we had lost a lot of ambient light. Now, I'm very much a one camera at a time person. I think you want to just focus on the shot and then move on to the next one. But working at this budget level and pace, cross-shooting this scene on 2 cameras would have been the far, far better option. My learning from this was definitely don't have multiple cameras on set on default, but also don't be so dogmatic about one camera shooting that you end up causing more problems and shooting yourself in the foot. Only thing I wish they'd added to this scene is another MC behind them. I really like catch lights in the eyes, and then a nice to have would have been like a 600X or something just coming from behind as moonlight again to add some more kind of color contrast to make the fire seem even warmer. Next up, we've got the daylight exteriors, and I'm pretty pleased with these. We desaturated the sky as it was a bit too blue and pretty, but these didn't take a huge amount of work because the location is really doing all the heavy lifting. There's actually no lighting either, other than a sheet of neg just out of frame. I wanted this harsh sun look and for them to be squinting to really get across this difference from the night before. Now they've woken up in the cold light of day and the severity of their situation is hitting them all at once. They are trapped here. All that I had to do to get this look was get their position relative to the sun right, putting them at a 45-degree angle to get this harsh difference between light and shadow. I went back and forth for ages on whether to shoot these as French over the shoulders, like coming from the other side of the line and kind of looking out towards the sea. That's my natural style for drama, as you get much higher contrast, but in the end I chose to shoot inside the conversation, as I tend to use French overs when it's a more confrontational situation. And while our 2 characters are angry and scared, it's more so at the situation rather than each other. So it felt better for the story to shoot them like this, so we really feel they are on the same side. They're working together, particularly after their bonding moment around the campfire the night before. And the shot's actually quite similar to the campfire framing. Also, another consideration was that, of course, in reality, there was no World War II battleship on the horizon, which they're meant to be looking at, which we would have seen if we'd been shooting from the other side. These next scenes were basically all about composition and timing. I'd chosen to schedule these about 2 hours before sunset, so it's not quite golden hour, but we're getting this kind of raking, sidey sun coming at them. Big reason for that is that it looks nice, of course, but it also suits the tone of the story at this moment. They are reaching the end. I really like how it feels here. The light is harsh, but beautiful and feels right for this moment. Jack is confronting his reality and making a heartbreaking decision. He doesn't really have any options left, but this is a decision he can make. I really like this scene, and I really don't think there's anything I would change, which, to be honest, is quite rare. Pretty much the only post-work I had to do was VFX out the 20 dog walkers in the background, who, unsurprisingly, were very intrigued by what we were doing. Yeah, I don't really know what I'd say for the rest of this scene. The performances are just incredible. Light's really nice. Yeah, just just really chuffed with it. This is probably the widest exterior in the whole film. Looking back, I'm happy with the decision to keep everything quite grounded from a story perspective. And of course, it was budgetary as well. There's one moment later, though, that I think it could have really done with a big dramatic wide, but I'll get to that bit in a sec. I haven't got a huge amount to say about this scene either. I really like the framing of the French overs. Only thing I don't really like is the wide. We feel very kind of plonked in the middle here, and a bit of out of focus foreground detail would have made it feel a lot more three-dimensional, just kind of shooting through some of the shrubbery or something like that. It feels pretty flat, which is surprising considering it's probably one of the most layered shots in the film. Cross shooting would have been another bonus here. As I said, I'm a one camera guy, but filmmaking is about trade-offs, and getting through the coverage on this scene quicker would have given us longer on other scenes, meaning we could get more shot variety, which I think in this instance is a worthy trade-off. A little highlight on Jack would have been nice here too. The French soldier is fine. I think he's getting some kind of catch light from the sky, but I wish we could see into Jack's eyes a little bit more, particularly in this moment. So I'm really happy with this moment. It was a very early decision that this would be the last time that we ever properly see the French soldier. I wanted to kind of hint at the fact that Jack never really knew what happened to him. The way it's shot kind of leaves it open to our interpretation. I'm really happy with these running shots too. I had a pretty bad fall, as you can hear here.
Okay.
Oh God.
Oh.
You right?
Yeah, fine. Oh Jesus. Did we get this? But luckily George had his priorities right. It was a good lesson in spec obsession too. I remember freaking out because I had to film this scene on my A7S and not on my FX6 like the rest of the film. Mainly just because of the weight and the fact I was kind of running backwards. And I was panicking that the shots wouldn't match. This film really proved my point that cameras are just data capturing computers. And pretty much anything these days has enough data that a good colorist can make it look like anything else. This film uses 3 different cameras, my Red Raptor for the ballroom, the FX6 for the bulk of the 1940s stuff, and the A7S and a few moving shots. Please don't freak yourself out with codec and color science chat like I did. James' friend used 3 or 4 different cameras, I think, on All Quiet on the Western Front, which won Best Cinematography a couple of years back. So I think we're fine. Anyway, that was a tangent, but this is the one place where I wish I had that big dramatic wide. It would have been really nice for us to kind of elongate this moment, to see the French soldier, the German soldiers, Jack and the boat all in one frame as we see this kind of tiny figure of Jack sprinting towards it. I think the way it's shot works fine, it works nice, but we've been building to this moment for the whole films, and it would have been nice to kind of have some more heightened drama in the cinematography. This is a good example of how the little things make a big difference. All of the gunshot impacts are VFX, and they really help sell the danger. At this budget level, my VFX guy couldn't spend a long time on them, so you don't want to see them too clearly, but having them there, you feel it more than you really notice it, and it really elevates the shots. I'm really pleased how these came together too. That boat is actually stationary on the sand, and I'm just throwing the camera about wildly as George rows. But George's performance and the sound design as effects just really sell it. So now we're on to the final scene, and it's fairly simple. I get a lot of mileage out of those practical lamps in terms of adding depth, and the location and the costumes really bring it to life. I thought it was really important to go back to the stillness we had earlier for these scenes, so we really feel how different and eerily quiet Jack's life is now. So I think everything here is on the tripod. Those lamps again. This is a callback, of course, to the scene where the French soldier helps Jack up, and I was trying to get across the idea that he's really been saved twice in his life. These are some more of my favourite shots. Backlighting haze is a bit of a cheat code, and while I think the way I've lit it is a bit dramatic or theatrical, I never really mind that. I don't necessarily think films should always look naturalistic. Another DOP said to me that my style is quite like old school Hollywood, a bit like Janusz Kaminski-ish, and I really like that. I like how this came together too. Just the two of them dancing alone, bathed in this light. They're really connecting for the first time in years. They had their wedding just before the war, and while they've been married for almost 6 years, they've spent so little time actually in each other's company. But the love they have for each other is what's going to get them through. And with Vi's help, Jack will be able to leave this kind of liminal space where he's been for so long, somewhere between Dunkirk and Britain. Thanks for watching. I'm Really happy to have shared that with you. If there was any bit that you found particularly interesting, or if you would have done something differently, please let me know in the comments below. I'd really love to hear it. And if you can, leave a like or subscribe or anything, I'd really appreciate it.